So someone's watching. Yay! Okay, we're here. Yay! Hi, everybody. Welcome to our monthly Q&A. I am here with Angie Sanders. Angie is a Teach Through Love certified parent educator. Before that, she's been helping and supporting families, kids, parents for a long time. She's also she's founder of an adoptive support group, right, Angie? And you're an adoptive mom as well. And we are here this week. We decided to get together. Said our live video was paused. Hopefully it'll resume shortly. I don't know what's going on. Oh, there we are. Good. So we decided to get on here together and just chat about all of the craziness going on.
I'm also a homeschooling mom, that too.
And she's a homeschooling mom, so she knows the craziness that many of us are feeling and the stress. Because I know, I mean, I'm saying this was with a smile because I'm trying to stay light in my heart. But I know that this is a really scary time for a lot of people. There's a lot of insecurity going on. There's a lot of people that are worried about what's going to happen. Not that we're necessarily worried about getting sick or anything, but we're worried, although some of us may have compromised immune systems and be worried about that as well. But some of us are worried about not being able to work or worried about how we're going to manage life, work, kids. Maybe a lot of us are caring for older parents, which is another strain on our emotional reserves. So Angie and I are here, and we have some friends joining us as well on Zoom. So if you're here with us in the Zoom room, you guys can post messages in the chat. Angie's going to be checking that for us. And you can also post messages, of course, if you're watching us live on Facebook. You can post them underneath the Galit is here, Sandra's here. Hi, you guys. So you can post questions there as well. And I have an email question come in. Angie, I know you've had a lot of calls about what is happening, what is going on, what do I do right now? Because you are like homeschool mama extraordinaire for the last several years after kind of not really finding the right fit of the school, right? Oh, you're on mute, honey. I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Yes.
There you go.
We started in kindergarten, and he's a 4th grader now. So yes, for quite a while now.
Quite a while. So I'm completely locked down in my city. Our restaurants are closed, movie theaters. Some of our state parks are closed, though we can still, of course, go outside, but they've even closed some state facilities. It feels really weird. What's happening? You're in Los Angeles. Everything's closed down there too, kind of, right?
Well, they're trying to. A lot of people are not abiding by the guidelines. So, I mean, each day something more and more happens. Yes, they have closed down many of the restaurants, which are only drive-through or delivery only. Definitely all the schools are closed here. I believe that's statewide. So, and a lot of people are working from home, or their businesses have closed down. Many small businesses are closed. So this last few weeks, over this past weekend, like I said, it escalated every day. There was one more layer of something closing. And so it's kind of been for some people, it was just all stopping. As you know, travel, cancellations of big groups. I mean, here, I believe they now said of 10 or more. Before it was 250 or more, and then it was 50 or more. And now it's no gatherings of 10 or more, and a lot of self-quarantine, and of course, distancing of people. So play dates have been canceled for a lot of families. Birthday parties have been canceled for a lot of families. I know people who've canceled weddings. I mean, huge life events that people were looking forward to. So there's a lot of disappointment for kids, even though some of them are like, yay, no school. They think it's all fun, but the reality hasn't still sunk in for them. So it's this kind of balance of the parents know what's going on, and they're dealing with their own anxieties and feelings and fears, like you stated.
Yep. And
then their kids, like I said, some of them don't get it because of age-wise, or some do, so they're dealing with their own children's anxieties as well, or that we go up and down, because sometimes it's like, yay, no school for some, and then other times it's like, where's my friend? Where's my play date? What's going to happen to my baseball that I was having? And are we going to win the championship? I mean,
I was just thinking that it's not even like, okay, it's a few days off, right? Everybody kind of, it's weird, but we're okay. But then kids are like, well, I want to go out. Well, you can't. I want to see my friends. And then we can explain it, we can be rational and logical, but there's another layer that we're going to have to speak to, and that's that emotional level, the emotional content of what's going on for them, because they may keep coming back and asking, well, I'm bored. Well, I want to see my friends. Well, why can't I? Well, I don't understand. And we might feel like saying, well, I explained it to you. I've already told you why. And that will make us more stressed because we'll get frustrated thinking that we've done enough. But I think if we can maybe help people speak to, I know you have some resources for how to keep our kids, I don't feel like we have to teach them, but we want to keep them engaged and feeling creative, and let them sit in that boredom until it moves them, I think, to find something that does excite them and does move them to want to, do stuff or play with things. And I know you have a lot of resources for that. And I also want to speak to this emotional piece of what it feels like. I sent out a survey this morning to not just our group here, but also the wider audience, asking people what they were most struggling with. And the majority of people feel like there's a lot of anger and outbursts in their home, and there's a lot of stress and anxiety. And so what does all that come from? It's that fear, right? The fear of the unknown, the fear of being isolated, the fear of feeling disconnected from our friends, of not knowing how to manage that anger and that upset. So hopefully we can. I have some questions also that were emailed in from our monthly group. So
well, I know that those are directly related. We know that there's always something behind the emotion. There's always something going on. So if there is anxiety and fear and great change, of course that's going to bring on big emotions. And, I think that's the thing. The first thing I tell any parent that's calling me is, well, we're feeling stuff. Imagine what our children are feeling, and they can't process it. Or especially the little ones who you say for a while or a few days, they don't know time. They don't get, a week or 2 weeks. They don't understand. Each day they wake up, are going to keep asking the same questions. Each hour they're going to ask the same questions,
Yeah.
But that's the key thing. I think knowing what you have taught me, Lori, has made such a huge difference. Knowing if it's stress related, if it's a break in a relationship, or the three peers that we've learned the first thing. And right now it's like all of those things. There's break in relationships. There's stress. There's brain developmentally, we don't know how to deal with this, because even as adults, brain developmentally, we've never dealt with something like this. So it's huge. It's new.
It is
unprecedented. So
I imagine this is what it was like when there were wars going on, right? It's a different kind of event, but where everybody has to mobilize together. Perhaps, our life as we know it shifts and changes while it's not exactly the same circumstances. That's the only thing that I can imagine it's like for people. And I guess older generations would be able to tell me if that's true. I know that my dad is older and he has dementia. And so that's been a struggle. He is, it's really activated some of his big fears. He has a lot of paranoia and stuff that comes with that. And that's been difficult for him. So it's not even just our children that we might be having challenges with. It's also older adults who can either be really resistant to not changing their ways and may not want to listen to the advice and go out, and then they're at risk for perhaps getting ill. And of course,
exactly,
we don't want to go there.
But is in a retirement community, and we're dealing with the same thing.
And are you able to see him still?
Well, no, they've shut down the facility where no one in or out, or if you do, that you have to wear these certain things. And so, but yeah, it's like him just not really getting it, or understanding the intensity and seriousness of it all, and again, him forgetting, because him asking each day, or are you guys coming today? And that it's really hard. It is, when you're dealing with knowing that what, we have been told about is the older generation is more susceptible, more prone to possibly get this. So you want to keep them isolated. You want to keep them safe. But we're glad at least he's not living alone, that he is in a facility where there are people and caretakers, and he has a phone. We can talk to him. I mean, my heart breaks for people who are totally isolated.
Are alone. Yeah. It's, I don't know if our stream stopped. It looks like it stopped over here, so I just want to check it. I just want to refresh the page. It's still recording for Zoom, so we'll be able to post it later, but I just wanted to see what's happening over here and see if it's still going on. Just give it a second. Oh gosh, is it? Is it? It is. It's still live. Okay. Okay. Okay, good. We're still live. Hey. So I wanted to speak to, or should we start? What do you think? If you guys have questions and you're watching live, you can post your questions down below in the comment section on Facebook. And if you're here and you have a question, you can post it in the chat and let us know. You can also come on live and you don't have to type it out. So you can just unmute yourself, but just let us know in the chat, or just unmute yourself if you can't, for some reason, if you can't type it. And you have a question and you're here with Angie and I, you can unmute yourself. So we'll give that a second. But if not, I have a question that I wanted to talk about because it was someone that is in a class right now and they emailed in. So I want to give those parents a little bit priority before we go to our Facebook questions. And there aren't any there right now anyway. So does that sound good? Awesome. So okay, this is what I love. I love when we have parents come take classes, join us, that have older kids. Like, this work is not just for little kids. It's not just for your toddlers, although it's great if you can start out with that foundation, right? And if you can get them when they're little before, even though it's really hard as well then. But it doesn't, just because your kids might be grown, and this is a mama with, she has 4 children, and they're all over 18. So 18 to 25. And she actually just suffered a really big loss. So she's going through some really challenging times right now, but she found this work, and she's especially noticed how conscious communication is the key, and how she relates to her kids. She has 4 boys, and how she relates to her children is the key to changing everything about their relationship, about how to help them. But she's also, so she says she doesn't really know if there's a question, but she wanted to speak to the idea of repair. How do we start now when there wasn't a good foundation, maybe at the very beginning, but our kids are older, but we still want to now strengthen it? Can we do that? One, yes, absolutely. We can do that, right, Angie?
Absolutely.
Totally.
It's never too late, I believe.
Never, yeah, never too late. And what can we do, right? Do we just, she actually asked, wait, I want to get this right. Oh, right. Should I have the conversation if I didn't get this right, but I'm trying to, or do I just move forward differently now? And I want to say, absolutely have the conversation. Let them know, and you can do it individually, because you're at this age, you probably have a really different relationship with each of your kids. But going back and saying, I've learned so much in the last few months or few weeks or however long it's been that you've been on this journey. With me, she's only been with me for a few weeks, it seems, but you want to let them know. Go back and say, I've learned so much about myself, and I've recognized the mistakes that I've made, and I've realized how I've hurt you. Oh my God, you don't know what a relief that feels like to children. As an adult, I would have loved, and my mom is passed now, and we had a really difficult relationship. And I can't even say it right now, but I remember like the one time that I remember her apologizing to me at the end was like one of the only times I had heard her say, I'm sorry. And it was huge, and I'm 46 years old, and it's huge. So it's never too late. Our kids, and here's the thing. They, teenagers, older kids, depending on what's going on right now, they may, be prickly at the beginning. They may resist the idea. They may resist closeness, but they never want us to stop trying. But that closeness also means that we're going in and we're really saying, I'm sorry if I've hurt you. Not, I'm sorry if, just I'm sorry because I know that I've hurt you. I feel like, who hasn't hurt their kids? Like I've said those, I've gone in and repaired many times with my daughter. This isn't about being, you know, perfect, right? Conscious, not perfect. So going in and having that conversation and saying, I know in this situation, maybe you know situations that you can actually pinpoint and say, I remember speaking to you in this way, and gosh, that must have really hurt, and that must have told you like that I didn't like you or made you feel this, you know, whatever it is. And then saying I'm sorry and this is what I'm going to do different. I think this is really key. If we can say to our kids, I'm working on minding my temper. I know that I have a temper, and that's the biggest thing, that when I get angry, it's because I'm scared, and then I yell and I blow up. And so I'm going to work on that, and this is what I'm going to do. Or I know that I sound really short with you, or maybe I go right to logic and I don't listen to feelings. Whatever it is that you know you've struggled with, let your child know how you're going to do it differently. Just one thing. Like, it doesn't have to be, you know, this grand plan. Just one little thing that you can do differently. That would be my suggestion to Susan, this mama who is going through a tough time right now, as many people are, and she's having a personal challenge, but she still wants to have a better relationship with her kids. And actually, that's what I wanted to say. The Google form, stress and anxiety and anger is what everybody was challenged with, Angie, but you know what, the thing that was most important to them, which I just loved, and I know that that's because our community is, they're here for a reason, they're focused on this, but it was to have a better relationship with their kids. That was the number, and it wasn't better communication, it wasn't, you know, having them listen, it was all out of everything, it was, I want a better relationship.
Absolutely.
So that would be my ideas. What do you think? What do you have to say?
Well, first of all, to Sandra who wrote in, I want to say 4 kids, 4 boys. Wow. I have such like.
Oh no, that was Susan. Sandra's on the call though.
So Susan, sorry, Susan, I want to get the name right. Sorry, who wrote it. And I have such empathy for her. And through loss can come such great transformation when we're dealing with so many feelings. And so much of what you said, I would be like, ditto, me too. I lost my mother also, and it was a very challenging relationship as well. But if she would have come to me and said she was sorry and took responsibility for things, I wonder what would have happened in our relationship when we were still, you know, still had time together. It would have been transformative, I'm sure. And I realized so many things on my own, though, as an adult, through therapy and working, you know, on becoming a conscious parent, because that's the key, I think, about this. When you really do the work, the classes I took with you, you know, learning to become a certified parent educator and going deeper down that pathway, you know, kind of like spoiler alert, you know, to be a better parent, you have to kind of be a better you. You have to reparent yourself. Yeah. It really is about us.
Yeah, we do all the work on us, right? It's rare.
And
there's some stuff for the kids.
It really, well, because it's a trickle effect. When I realize why I'm being triggered by something he does when someone else isn't triggered at all, because they grew up in a whole different household and had different parenting as well. So that's why we're all individual. But when I can understand my own, you know, behavior behind the scenes, what's going on behind my feelings, and when I can become more attuned to my own feelings and emotional intelligence and can model to him, my son, that's what's going to help. But I absolutely agree, coming to your child at any time and saying, I'm working on changing. I realize what I did was not okay, was wrong. I was the grown-up and I should have known better. Not like I didn't know better. You know, often like it kind of like thinks it's going to excuse it. I should have known better and I didn't. I mean, I remember hearing an amazing speech one time by Carolyn Miss. I don't know if you know Carolyn Miss, and it was all about forgiveness. And how apologizing, a true apology for someone isn't just, oh, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you, please forgive me, is kind of what we say. But hers was like, if we came to someone, looked them in the eye, was able to touch them or really truly connect with them, or if we have to on the phone or FaceTime, whatever, and said, I know what I did was wrong, and I know it was going to hurt you, and I did it anyway, and that was really wrong, and I'm working on changing. I am so, so sorry. And then the key is not to expect a forgiveness right away, because then you've set them something on their lap that they have to deal with. And that's the big thing for my mom. I felt like a lot of times she would feel, well, I didn't know, and then I was just supposed to be okay with it. And I realized I sometimes even do that with my own kid, where I have to realize excuse me, my cat's gonna jump on my lap right now, that we have to realize that especially if she has grown children, they are going to need some time to process it. And they still might be angry. I mean, I've learned this growing up when I was in, I will admit, I was in 12-step programs in Al-Anon, dealing with someone. Just because they stopped their behavior doesn't make our feelings and our anger and our frustration and the memories of what happened just go away immediately. So it's a process. And we have to keep coming back and apologizing more than once if it's years in the making, especially with grown children.
And that can be scary.
It's super scary, but being willing then to be quiet and silent like we are little kids, when we let them just feel their feelings and not react, not try to fix it. We've learned, okay, in the moment, if they're angry, having big feelings, if our adult child is having, I hope I can do this when they're older too, let them have their feelings and then try to find an avenue for themselves, whether it's here, whether it's with therapy or group therapy or friends they can count on, so they can vent and express their emotions and not get into this spiral with their kid, trying to defend or explain.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Not having to, yeah, definitely.
I think that's another big element of it, is then still allowing their children to have their reaction feelings for their healing to begin to.
Yeah, exactly. And we have to be able to, just like if we didn't do it when they were little, we do it when they're older. We have to be able to withstand the discomfort, because it's going to be uncomfortable, and we have to be vulnerable, because we have to put ourselves out there and say, I'm so sorry I hurt you. And then we have to be willing to take rejection, because we are the parents, right? We're the bigger people. But I think it sounds like she's well on her way, and she just needs just somebody to say, yes, it's not too late, and yes, have that conversation, because she sounds like she's already made like really great strides with her sons with it, which is amazing. But if you haven't, like you said, be willing to keep trying and keep doing, and let them have their feelings. You also touched on something that that kind of jumps into our next question. Let me see if I have.
Oh, I'm glad I had a good segue then for us.
You glad what?
I'm glad I offered a good segue.
You did. Many good segues. I could have jumped in there. You know me, I'm always like, I've got something I can say. But you also talked about having to withstand and be okay, like what's happening in my body. And I know that and a lot of people talked about like, how do I handle a meltdown or really angry kids? So we have to see those angry kids as, one, being dysregulated. I think that we know that they're dysregulated, right? That they're not trying to, they're purposefully trying to send us a message, right? The behavior is communicating something to us, but that anger is something deeper. It's not saying, I don't care about you, mom or dad, or, I don't have to listen to you, even though that may be their actual words. It's saying something deeper. I'm hurting. It's painful. I can't help it. I can't deal with it. I need you to kind of be my my anchor, right, in this crazy storm that I'm in right now. But if we say, you're on your own in the boat, figure it out, and I'll be here to listen, and when you can be respectful, then we like send the boat out to sea with nothing. But if we can at least be the anchor, and the boat's might go all crazy right there, but it'll be secure, right? So that's what we have to. So how do you? Because I think this is where most people don't know what to do. We are so worried that our kids are going to keep spiraling because we see it, and we can stay like centered for maybe like 5 minutes. But who has a kid that like can get really upset and dig in their heels for like 15 minutes or longer?
45. I remember a long 45 session a few years ago.
Now, so the highly sensitive kids, right? They're going to be like that. And yeah, there's going to be some kids are just naturally going to be, just have more challenge with like transitions and accepting no for an answer. I think these are really good. This is persistence. This is like showing these amazing will to get, to get something done when they're older. So I don't want to stamp out all that amazing spirit, right? But we do need to be able to contain it. And that's when we can like contain it for a little and then they blow up again and we think, well, that didn't work.
Yeah.
But it did work.
Because
But what do you do?
I'm still working on this. I will admit.
Okay.
I mean, like you say, this is not about perfection. This is, being conscious.
A
constant and
growing of ourselves. It's not a constant battle. I don't want people to think that this is about, we can't get rid of conflict, right? But we're growing. Haven't you grown from where you were when he was like 5?
So. Because absolutely, I hope so. I hope my son would agree. Because, and again, I've certainly improved upon how I was raised. Like you said, I know if I've done something, I can come to my child and it doesn't last as long. Like my mom's upset used to last forever. So I know that's where I get triggered because my mom was a yeller. She never would hit us because her dad hit her. So she broke that chain, thank goodness, never spanked, but would scream and a rageaholic. And so I get triggered if my son's having those big emotions and the yelling. And yet I myself sometimes would be a yeller. I mean, but that was it. I think in one of our testimonials, Mason said, my son said, "Thank you for helping my mom to stop yelling so much." No, but it's true. But what you said was really moved me because I know I'm still working on this. And I think the key is I don't want to lose my train of thought. Is that you asked, how do we deal with the big emotions?
Yeah, like what do you do in that 45 minutes when obviously he's not necessarily having those now that long, but how did you get through those moments? And what do you look back, when you look back at it now, what do you see that you think that was really key that you did that helps you get through? Or
well, it was like taking the steps in the process, because I had to be self-regulated. I had to check in with myself first, and I still do. Again, I'm not talking in past tense. I'm talking about all the time. And
so what do you do to check in with yourself? Do you like walk away? Do you stop and breathe?
Deep breaths.
Do you like?
I know my body because I've checked enough for myself. I feel it in my shoulders. I have to take a deep breath. I'm also highly sensitive to sound, so if there's a lot of yelling and crying, I have to I feel like my skin is turned inside out. So I have to really get myself in a regulated, calm place. And right now, everyone, I think, all emotions in households are magnified because everyone's heightened. We're stir crazy. And what you said is like feeling our emotion. When we think about what a person can feel in not just a day, but sometimes an hour, like and especially highly sensitive one. Do you think if they're playing or they're drawing and their pencil breaks, or they're playing a game and somebody, they didn't win, and then, or they're trying to build a Lego and then it fell apart, or they're reading a book and they're frustrated and they get caught up in the emotions and that happened. I mean, we can have all these emotional reactions, physical reactions to things. And then if we don't have an outlet, a way to know how to get through them, we're going to feel frustrated and tighter and more wound up. And especially if we're inside and we don't get to go outside and run or kick a ball. Here it was raining for like 3 or 4 days. So we were really kind of more stir crazy,
That's hard.
We couldn't go for our walks, couldn't get out. So that's one thing, is knowing the tools. You have helped me with so much. We have a little basket, an emotional basket, we call it, where I kept the bubble wrap of things when we get packages where he can pound on it or pop it. It makes a loud noise. Paper he can rip. We used to have a big stuffed bear. Well, we still have the stuffed bear that he could beat the living bleep out of if he wants to, or hug it and cry in it. It's like his emotion bear. So we have actual tools to physically shift it because it can get stuck. It can get literally stuck in us.
Yeah. And if they don't yell or hit something or they have to get that out. So if they're not allowed to do those things, right, because those behaviors aren't acceptable, right, we have to offer them something else. We have to offer them that outlet, just like we need the outlet. So whether we're going to walk away and get a glass of water or just do some deep breathing, like you were saying, our kids also, they may not have the ability to stop themselves or to even be aware, or they may also be resistant, right, to our attempts to help them regulate their senses. And at that point, I know a lot of parents will say to me, well, they kick and they scream and I can't even get near them. And I'm like, okay, first thing you want to do is then lower yourself and just let them know you're here and I'm safe. You're having really big feelings and you want to kick and scream and I can't let you do that and you're mad at me.
Right.
But I'm here and I'm going to keep you safe, and then stop. We don't have to keep naming their emotions if that makes them more frustrated. We can be silent, right, but we can be, in order to de-escalate something, it's about not taking in what we see happening and then not pushing it away, but really letting it hit us, let it land, not their punches or their kicks. Obviously, we need to, protect ourselves and contain them physically when we need to, but not get to the point where that overwhelms us with fear, because that's what will that's what will escalate the tension, right? So these tools that you're talking about, the big bear, my daughter had a bean bag. We used a lot of, we had this basket that you're talking about. We had one in the car, we had one in the house, we had them, strategically placed in the meltdown corners.
Snow globes he could shake, squeeze ball. But what you said was key, because that's kind of like the second step. I mean, well, the first step is us getting their regulated, calm place.
Right, us regulating.
And then the second one is really letting them have their feelings. Because I will admit, I tend to jump to here, let's regulate, as opposed to sometimes you have to just feel it. I say feel it to heal it.
Yeah.
Whether they need to cry or just talk.
Right. Some of that regulation can just be a snuggle, right? It's not about that I need
hug, the oxytocin hug. We do also releases oxytocin. Yeah. But I mean, my son, now he's older, he can articulate how he feels, even if they get like he falls down or gets hurt or something. And I want to tend to do you need ice? Do you need a Band-Aid? Running to fix it, right? As opposed to just being present and, oh, he got hurt. Oh no, you felt, I'm here for you. As opposed to what can I do to fix it? I tend to kind of rush to do that. And he'll say, it seems like you don't even care. Like he'll say that to me. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I need to be present with him, with his feelings.
Yeah. It's hard though. We want to help them and we want to rush to their aid. But if we're going to have resilient children, we have to let them feel those feelings, right? I remember, and it might have even been you that I was talking about this too one time. It was like, let's let children, they have a right to their feelings. So can we let them just have that? They don't have a right to hurt anybody. So we can contain that. Yeah. But if we can just honor that they're feeling overwhelmed, sad, and when we are overwhelmed or sad or afraid, thinking brain shuts down. So that's not the time to teach lessons. It's not the time to sort of say, here's how you can play with this Play-Doh, and here's things we can do to release stress. It's really the time to, either help them get into a physical space where they can let it out, or again, snuggle, hugs. It's not lesson teaching at that time, right in the beginning. Absolutely. But it is so important for the anger beyond anything else. People say, well, how do I teach them to stop doing that? It's like, teach them to feel, how do we help them feel safe? We can't teach our kids to do anything unless we help them feel safe, unless we find ways to put resources in place, like you're saying, the basket that you have, or whether it just be our own emotional availability. There has to be something.
And the key for them is helping them to feel safe, because this was so pivotal to me when he was younger. And like I said, thankfully I got it when he was younger, but even with people, parents with older children, is if we can set
definitely.
For they feel safe to come to us then, even with the big emotions, even with the anger, that when they're older, they will continue to feel safe. Because if we don't know how to handle it, they're going to get, oh, mom or dad can't handle it when I'm angry. They can't handle when I'm crying. So I'm going to go somewhere else, or I'm going to go outside the home and figure out how to handle it on my own. So that's huge to help them and to remember that we're not just, it's not just about the now. We're raising full-fledged adults. That's the plan. That's the goal. So when they're older, they can handle it and have tools.
And we're such a huge influence without even doing anything, just by how we respond, and to react to other things in our lives, not even just them. Let me check to see if we have.
I did ask my son before I did this. I said, "What I'm going to be trying to talk to parents who are dealing with stuff, and what would you want me to tell them?" And he said, "Let them know to have." The parents should know to let the kids have their emotions, to feel their emotions, that it's okay to be angry or sad. I mean, he said
how old, tell everybody how old Mason is. 10, right?
10. He turned 10 in December. Yeah. My wise little Buddha.
I was just going to say, he is wise. And that's what I love about kids. Even the most sensitive kids who seem so dysregulated for the longest time, they really do show this maturity that like blossoms when they get a little bit older. As my daughter says, after 9, that's when they really show their maturity. That's her observation at, she'll be 14 and like, well, she'll be celebrating in isolation, I guess, in a couple of weeks, April 14th. But
at 10, I've seen huge leaps and bounds. Just like,
yeah,
it's amazing.
so much. So let's talk. We don't have any more direct questions here, unless I'm not seeing them. Hopefully I'm not missing them, but I don't see them here, and I don't see them on the Zoom either. So if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself. But let's talk about also people are feeling that strain of what do I do? The kids are home. We want to let them have, because everybody's feeling stressed, right? So we don't want to necessarily overwhelm them with strict schedules, but what can we do? Oh, homeschooling master, help us. Because I don't know, I just have resigned myself to 9 hours of YouTube for my daughter. Like that's my plan. Does that work? Can I do that?
Well,
Because I don't know.
Games. My son is playing video games right now. So it's,
Okay.
I think because these are extraordinary, unprecedented times, we need to all take a deep breath and not feel extra pressure and stress on ourselves because we're homeschooling our kids, we're working from home. There's a lot going on. So many parents are immediately, people were posting, this is the schedule we're going to have, or we're going to keep the academics. And I will admit, when I started even homeschooling, I thought that's what I had to do, where I even set up like a little corner and this is what we're going to homeschool, we're going to do. But you realize, no, we didn't need a desk. We would sit on the couch, on the floor, on the porch, at the kitchen table, in his room, wherever there needs to be learning done. And the most important thing is again, like we're saying, allow them their feelings, allow them their process, allow them to feel stir crazy, allow them to adjust to this. So there's a thing they call deschooling, where you kind of transform, have a transformation period. Some people are technically on their spring breaks and early, so they're not so worried about the stressing of that, or how's my kid going to learn. I think let go of the whole thing of, I've got to keep them on schedule. I've got to keep them at the learning level where they go back, they won't know these things.
Right.
And to just chill a little bit. I mean, there's good things that can come out of this. We can have a deeper connection. Instead of being terrified of, what am I going to do with my kids all day? Think about, wow, I get a chance to be with my kids more now. I get a chance to really see them and learn. Because how I look at this also is people, I remember posting, I only have like 4 or 5 more summers with my kid. I want to make the summer the best of it. When my son turned 10, I realized he's halfway to 20. It goes by so fast. But if we could really use this time to connect, for more play, for more child-led learning, you can discover more things about your kid. What are they really like? I mean, I've tried to play little video games. Like, I'm not very good at video games, and he knows that. And I always say, I don't love video games like you do, but for me to sit and try and play with him and interact with him is a way to show connection. And then you can learn through video games. It's like YouTube. If you take an interest, taking an interest in your child, like, what is it you love about this? What's your favorite thing to do in it? And there are educational tools for all video games. You can look at the different, like if you really want to break things down, like, Minecraft, there's classes on Minecraft now about how you can learn and structure and building worlds, the different elements, the different locales that they go to, like if it's different habitats, different aliens, the science of space, and you can have so many conversations if you engage and ask them questions.
It sounds like it's a really good time, I'm sorry, to find out what your kid's interested in and then have them do things around that so that they can stay engaged and not necessarily have to follow what the school or what society schooling, that mainstream idea of schooling thinks we should be doing, but really it's a chance for your child to maybe learn something that interests them that is still learning. It's all learning, right? We're constantly living and learning.
They can teach you something. That's the thing, is let them be the teacher. If you're gonna have like pretend school, let them be the teacher and teach you things. Tell me, what do you guys do in school now? I get a chance to know. You can make it fun, because this is not the time to add more stress and infighting going on in the home. This is the time to make everyone feel safe and to be healthy. We have to remember that's going on in our world. That should be key. And for us as, peaceful parents, the key is always connection. So that's the thing, is kind of give yourself the break. That's my first advice always. And then yes, there are many tools. There are so many like educational websites now that are offering free schooling that normally will charge people for online classes.
Cool. So we can post some of those links maybe under this video later, and that will afterwards. And we
lots of links.
resources.
There are lots of free concerts now that are being done, like amazing, like A-list performers are doing. Like
I've seen that they're live streaming stuff.
Yes.
That's really cool. I love seeing all of that.
From Yo-Yo Ma to opera houses to like Coldplay and Bono, you know, are like, you know, doing live singing and performances for us from their homes, because we all want to feel connected. So they can make their own videos. If they like YouTube, let them turn it on and make their own little videos and have fun, or with TikTok or whatever it is, Instagram, if they have those things, if they're old enough to do that. You know, let their creative juices flow. Let them put on a play charades. We were playing hide and seek the last couple of days in our house. And our house isn't that small. And we have usually the same hiding places, but it's the anticipation of waiting to see if they're going to jump out or if we make it, or, you know.
We used to like hide. It's like we used to hide in the shower. And it's like as soon as you open the door, you clearly would know someone was in the shower. But it's like, who cares? I love them.
Exactly. It's like just being fun and silly.
And I want to, can I just say for the parents that are, this is not to dismiss the very real situation that a lot of parents may be feeling, which can include, like, I don't have time to play with my kids because I have to find childcare so they can go to work.
Or they have to work at home and balance. Yeah,
so this is not to dismiss that, but if we can just take the small moments that we would normally have with our children and make them really special and make them real, it makes me think of, what was that movie? He was in I guess the father and the son were in the concentration camp, but he made his son's life
beautiful.
Yes, that. So he was suffering the most horrible reality, but he created this safe haven for his child. And I think that's what we need to do at this time. So it's not, you have to do more, you have to stress and, you know, be some kind of perfect parent and all of that, but just, can we just, in those moments that you do have with your kids, even if you are really stressed out about that working, when you are with them, can you make those moments just a little bit extra special for them, and just to let them know?
Yes. And if they're watching more TV or more movies or video games, engaging with them afterwards, or when you do at the time, asking them about it. Oh, what happened in that TV show? What happened with your characters? What was your favorite thing about them? Because these are tools that also create emotional intelligence, that create critical thinking. If you do the comprehension part, you know, there's so many reading and comprehension parts. If they read a book, if they watched a show, ask them, who was the main character? You know, what did they do? What was their conflict? Did they solve it? How did they solve it? Did you agree with how they solved it? What would you have done?
Why do you think they did that? Why do you think they made those choices? That's great. That's true. I never even thought about that. Such a great, I mean, that's all my daughter does. She's in middle school. That's like her, you know, her language arts assignments would be to read something and answer those questions. So
do that verbally with your children at home, because that's education. Another great thing is life skills. We have a chance now. A lot of kids, you know, have outside classes where they're doing things. Like yesterday, my son was helping me fold the laundry. You know, he's helping me cook. These are things that children need to know as well, you know, emotional intelligence, a lot of the things that they're not teaching at school. Like I say, the critical thinking part about how life is. And it's a way to engage.
That's true. And get help too at home, because they're not, I know my daughter sometimes is so worn out by everything that she's expected to do at school that we limit the amount of chores because I know it's overwhelming and exhausting. So she has limited, but now is the time to maybe say, oh yeah, we can participate more, and like we're all here together, because they don't have necessarily. Now some kids I know are still in school and some kids are online schooling. So they're not, my daughter's right now isn't giving any extra instruction. So if your kids have that time, of course.
And another thing, when you say, what if you have to work at home and balance it? Everyone knows right now, thank goodness. It's not like just you personally are having to work at home and balance it. Everyone in the world is right now. So I think your coworkers and employers or employees are going to understand if your kid's jumping on your shoulder and needs a little attention right now. And also, it's a way to, again, model behavior to our kids. Oh, you know, I'm just feeling so frustrated with work right now. I'm feeling tense about it. Because you know what? They feel that at their own school sometime. So they could see how you handle it. and, and sharing that it's okay to be frustrated, or I'm feeling stressed right now. And so I'm going to take some deep breaths right now because I need to get through this. So it's a great opportunity for them to see you and what you do in the day when you are separate from each other. That you have deadlines, like you have homework, you have assignments, you have things, you have people you deal with, some people that you like and get along with, some people that you might not so much, and they bug you and drive you crazy. I think it's a great way to model. And like I say, it's a really good opportunity to connect in a deeper level if we really can transform our thinking about this whole situation.
So much going on, Angie, so much. I really loved having you here with me. Would you do this again?
Sure, yes.
Sometime we should definitely do this again. I also wanted to mention to everybody watching that some of our parent educators I sent out the survey today. So if you haven't, check your email, check your spam if you don't see it. I would love to know how we can help. But I know a lot of our parent educators have offered their time as well. So I'm going to be able to connect people who would really benefit from one-on-one support, free support. We're trying to create resources to help you guys during this time that do not add to your stress or to your financial burden. So I'm going to be putting together, it looks like classes would be really beneficial. So, but if you guys are interested in that, please, you can post down here below, but also I'll post the link to the survey in here too if you didn't see it. Fill that out so we can connect you with people. And Angie, I would love to do another one of these lives with you. That was a lot of fun. Any parting words?
We all need to bond together and support and uplift, judge or put down, I mean, more than ever. So I'm all for doing that because I need it too. I mean, like I say, it's a challenge. I always say parenting is the most exhausting but exhilarating, job I've ever had. And I just honor and respect everyone and what they're going through and their process. And like I said, Mason even said something about we're homeschooling now, and all the transitions everyone's going through. I mean, everyone's homeschooling now, but for us, it's easy, he said, because we're used to it. But I know in the beginning how overwhelmed and challenging it was. So I think, again, being kind to ourselves and taking it one moment at a time, one day at a time, because right now things are so unpredictable.
Yeah, our kids we're going to be sort of finding our way to, I mean, whatever the normal is going to be. Things seem to be changing and escalating so fast right now that in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, when we have another call like this, who knows what will be going on. But I hope that everybody just found
Lori, I want to say one more thing that you helped me with too that I think might help others right now is the family meeting. I think this is a really good time to maybe sit and have a family meeting about, we have to
things have changed, right? So it's a great time
right now. And not talk about like rules, because we say it's not about making a list of rules, but I remember we got the dry erase board, you can talk about, and you write out things that are going to help you with this transition, that help us to get along better, to help us support each other through this, time. I think that's a great idea. I mean, that really helped us, and I might even do that again. We kind of talked about it at our dinner table, because
that's a great idea. Like finding out, like, what do like some kids might have worries about, it may bring up things like going to bed again, might bring up worries, like for younger children, or there may be all kinds of things, and it will give a chance for kids to say, hey, this is what I think is worrying me right now, or this is what I could use, this is what I need. Maybe I need some extra time with you at night before we go to bed, or I need some extra snuggles in the morning, or I need you to, let me have more alone time because I feel like you're smothering me if you have a teenager.
Yes.
Depending on what, what is going on in your house. So
asking a child, what do you want? What do you need is huge.
Yeah.
It's a huge way to connect. And then we also used to do the thing, I think where maybe for anywhere from 10 minutes to a half hour when you can find the time, maybe it's evening, afternoon, or you're at home lunch break if you're working from home, where we're within boundaries and limitations, especially because we're confined to home, it's the yes time. For whatever you ask, I have to say yes to.
Oh yeah, the kids love that.
And
yeah.
And of course, like I say, you can set the limits and parameters of, because for us it was we can't spend any money right now, or we're not.
Right, like we can't go to Disneyland right now.
But
You really
but
can't go to
I want
Disneyland.
you to go with you. And sometimes you'd be so surprised if it's just, I want you to build a Lego with me, or I want you to play video game. It's usually some way to connect. It usually is.
Awesome. Those are awesome tips. Thank you for thinking of them and sharing.
Well,
I feel
thank
like sometimes I'm always sharing the same thing, so it's so helpful to have somebody else go, this is what really worked for me, or this is what I remember and has
Well, it's
helped
all
me.
from you,
It's just,
Lori. It's all from you and the inspiration and lessons and things you have taught me. And so I'm
oh,
so
well, we are all in this together. Like you said, it's so helpful. I've learned from everybody that I have met and have had the pleasure of sharing with and sharing this time. So this, of course, is for you guys here in our forum and anybody that has a subscription to a current class. But I might post this publicly, Angie, if it's okay with you too, because I feel like a lot of people could benefit from this. But of course, for you guys, we have this session, not always with Angie. She was my very special guest, and hopefully she'll come back again. But you can find me here twice a month. Right now, our classes, our sessions are the first and the third Wednesday of each month at noon Eastern time. So I'll be back here on the 1st. But until next time, everybody stay safe, stay well, and I will see you soon.
bye.
All right. Let's see how we stop.